Right, we are live. I'm excited. Jace doesn't look excited, but he is excited, I can tell you, because we were talking a little bit before the game just now. I'm going to give it 30 seconds just to see if we get anybody waiting in the room, and then we're going to kind of go straight into it. But if it's your first time here, please do give it a subscribe, give it us a like. It's going to really help the channel kind of grow and get into a wider audience. We really appreciate any of your support. You're going to be watching this. It's going to be me and Jace breaking down. I don't know, how would you describe that game in like a sentence, Jace? What would you say?
Training game.
it is, yeah, it's Denzel Washington.
That's what it was,
game, right? It's training game.
I mean, yeah, it's just we just went like 4 hours north for a training game. That's all, No biggie.
Not a biggie.
No disrespect.
Well, I mean, it is disrespect. Do you think that has to go down as probably one of the worst Premier League home performances of all time?
I mean, I think in regards to the scoreline, I think there have been bigger defeats. I think some of those Southampton defeats, if I remember rightly, at home for Leicester. But first half, we just think about the first half, because the second half, we turned the gas off. But the first half, I think, was the worst performance I've ever seen from a team in the Premier League. Ever. Yeah, it's bad. I mean, it has to be bad when you've got a Southampton fan texting you going, "Can you please score more than 9 so we can get rid of our record, please?" So you know it's going to be bad. And they also text me saying, "I need to start by going, I'm disappointed in this Arsenal side. They lack desire and lack passion that they can't score more than 6. It's frankly shocking." I am a little bit disappointed, though, aren't you? That we didn't get more than 6. I mean,
I'll tell you what. Yeah, of course. Don't spoil it. We're going to get into it because it's going to be there. Right. If you've never joined us before, we start the show the way we start every show, which is our Ripple review. It gives a chance for me or Jace, or both of us probably, to talk a little bit about how we're feeling about Arsenal at the moment. What would after that victory, it's probably going to be a bit about that. But Jace, where are you going with your Ripple review for this week's episode?
I'd just like to applaud the Sheffield United fans that stayed till the end.
There weren't many of them.
Right. No, it was I think it was 15 minutes in, and we were 3-0 up, 2-0 up, and 3-0 up, and they were just all they had the cameras on there. They were all walking out, and then there was still some that were going at 4-0, and then they got to 5, and the half time, and then there was still I'd say a third to half of the ground probably for the second half, maybe. It was still there watching the team 5-0 down after getting smashed in the last 2 home games 5-0 as well. So fair play, diehard supporters, or they just like Arsenal. Maybe there's a lot of Arsenal fans in Sheffield, but just my roaring review is fair play to Sheffield United fans. I couldn't imagine having to watch that team week in, week out. That was appalling, and we smashed them at home as well. So. Yeah, intrigued to know how they got up in the first place. Though, if I'm honest, there is a big difference between the Championship and the Premier League, but shouldn't be that poor. The amount of goals
there was a big gulf between us in that game for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So go on then, give it to me. Where are you going with this?
Well, we had a little debate beforehand. I want to talk about. This is not a big review. This is just an interesting thing. I'm really into looking at field tilt at the moment. So anybody that doesn't know what field tilt is, it gives you it's kind of like XG, tells you a little bit of the story of the game in which, which team has the majority of the ball, which one's carving, which one's making progressive passes, which team's really the team to look out for. And I think we had a field tilt of over 90% in this game. I can't remember ever seeing any of their possession or anything on the ball, to be honest. They didn't have a sniff in this game. Absolute suffocation. And if you talked about us coming out of the gates, as you talked about in the past 2 games that we've had, this was it. This was it. And I don't know about you. I walked into this game. I was confident. I predicted 5-0 beforehand because why not? And I was pretty close. But
I'm pissed off at you.
I mean, it's a bit annoying for me. Granted, that one little goal. But you know what I mean? There was a bit of intrepidation before this game. I wanted to temper my expectations a little bit because Liverpool scraped a win by the skin of their teeth. Man City albeit won quite comfortably against the Man United side who just couldn't be bothered to play football. So once again, the pressure is on us to win this game. And, it could be looked at as a completely easy fixture. They're bottom, we're third. We are completely dismantling teams away from home. But this is Arsenal. And I think I talked on a previous pod about scar tissue and about history and about being potentially worried about these kind of games that could slip us up. And by God, it couldn't be further from the truth. I cannot wait to play some of these teams that we got coming up just to see what happens. We've got Spurs away from home, United away from home, City away from home, massive games. And I don't know who's going to win the league at the end of the season. I hope it's us, but who knows? But I'm not fearful of any of these teams, and I'm excited to see how we approach those games.
I mean, we the way we played against Liverpool at home was great. We didn't falter to Liverpool away this season. We beat City at home. If we can continue playing like this and we can go to City and at least get a draw, then there's no reason why we aren't the best team in the league. The defeats that we've had this year have been gut punches because those just come so out of the blue, and it's just random performances where just, City have had these kind of performances in the league season, right? Where they've just randomly lost a couple of games, like they lose casually to Crystal Palace once in a blue moon, right? We absolutely, that West Ham game at Christmas, still can't get over it. If we lose the league because we lost that game against West Ham at home, when we absolutely dominated and they managed, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt now. Because I think we are, if you take out these anomalies, the Villa game as well, we were good in the Villa game away and we lost that somehow. The Fulham game was the only game where I was like, we were absolute trash and we didn't deserve to win. But every performance this season, we've turned up. And, do you know what? It's actually really going to hurt if we don't win the league. It's going to hurt. Liverpool are just scraping wins, and it's pissing me off because I'm just like, come on, man! Like, put a performance in if you're going to try and win the league. Like, we're putting performances in and entertaining, banging goals in.
But Jace, ever since Klopp handed in his resignation, everything is rolling out the red carpet for his farewell parade. Everything is going their way to the point where. Was it Paul Tierney who obviously made the mistake at the weekend and is now on VAR for our game? Like, what in the world? There's no logical reason for it. I don't get it.
He never goes in our favour either.
Anyway, right. Let's not get into, I suppose, this and that at the end of the season. There's still 11 games to go, right? So we still got a long way to go. So let's get into our first topic, which is goals. We won this game 6-0, and there's a lot to talk about. Mm-hmm. Is there, take your pick, Jace. What's your goal of the night, and how do you think we fared in our approach play during this game?
Goal of the night, Ben White's. Just love the way he hit it. Saucy, love it. He just hit it a bit. I don't know. He just got
swaz. Is swaz the word you would use?
No, I wasn't going to say swaz. It was quite a direct hit, but it was the way he connected with it, the power behind it. The keeper kind of got a little bit of a touch, but I couldn't do anything about it. It was just that last goal was an absolutely beautiful finish, and it sticks in the mind most prominent for me. But let's just talk about, you asked me about the breakup play and the way we were cutting through them. I want to compliment Odegaard. He got man of the match. He does this week in, week out. I mean, I could go into the superlatives to describe him, but what's the point at this point in time, right? Because he's so good. You just expect it from him. When you're playing a team at that caliber as well, it's just like it's too easy for him. It's too easy for him, and he was just every single time, threading the needle. It was Saka running through. It was Ben White running through. There was one where Martinelli came across and ran through. There was one where he played it all the way across the other side of the pitch through to Martinelli. It was just too easy for him. He's world class and he's just above that level. And it was just a nice little jog in the park in Yorkshire for him tonight. I mean, our build-up play is coming on strong. That's the one thing I can say is that we're being consistent with it. We're hitting the gas every game. We're coming out with intensity. We're not dropping the level. And that's what you need now to see. The problem is it's how we were saying at the beginning of the season, where's the intensity? Oh, what's happening here? Why are we not playing like last season? And then there was like, what if we're being cautious here? What if we're going to come out in the second half of the season with full gas and intensity? And now we're like, we're doing it. Now I'm like, guys, calm down. We've got to get 11 more games. We've got to get to the end of the season. Don't waste all the gas. Like, shut it down at 3-0. It's done. We don't need to do it anymore. I mean, it's great to see, but there's the question. Like, I'd hope with these last 5 games, 4-1, 3-1, and then 6-0 and 2 5-0s. I hope we've just not spent all our goals in like one big go, because these will be. I mean, Liverpool was a hard one. Newcastle weren't great, and then the other 3 were just really, really easy, really poor quality sides that were playing. So you mentioned the City, you mentioned the Man United away, you mentioned the City away. No, sorry, the Spurs away, and those are different challenges. And I think that's going to be the real test in the test is the ability to come out playing with those, threading the needles in games where the defenses are much tighter, and then getting the consistency of the amount of goals. Those are going to be the challenges. But yeah, I mean, at the moment it's just goals. Ben White for me tonight was my favourite of the bunch. I'll mention one more before I pass over you to discuss. I really like Declan's goal, the cut back, the way he put that in and then ran towards the corner flag. I thought that was a very nice Arsenal goal as well. Kind of very much kind of just summarises how we play football at the moment. The way we attack, the way we get the ball in the box and the cut back across and the tap in. I think there was a few more of those tonight, but yeah, those 2 goals I really liked, which I think were the 5th and 6th. Maybe I'm just being lazy. Maybe they're the most prominent in my mind, but
they were.
But yeah. Come on, talk to me about what were you drooling over this evening?
Well, I'm actually probably drooling over goals that weren't. There was a couple of opportunities in the first half where I think I might have said this on the last pod. There was a goal a goal that wasn't as reminiscent of the Wilshere Norwich goal, and there was a couple of opportunities in this game in particular where our build-up play was so intricate and so the passment and the movement, the quickness of the ball, on the edge of the box and just clever footwork on the edge of the box, trinkling their way in, and it should have come off and it didn't, and I was just kind of like, that would have been so
Wasn't
good.
Declan can get the shot away, it got blocked, but it was like he was just, sorry, excuse my French, I'm going to say it anyway, he was fucking around. There was just one point where he was just doing back heels, flicks, and it was going 1-2.
Well, they all wanted to get on the act, right? Didn't they? That was the thing. Yeah. There was a chance. There was a bit I'd read somewhere that basically, I think it was only like Jorginho that kind of needed to kind of get involved to kind of close off an attacking fantasy football like return standpoint, because defenders obviously get points for clean sheets. And the one thing that maybe didn't cap up this evening was like Saliba, Gabriel, like a header. That is. You just expect it now from us. Our set pieces were actually pretty poor tonight, particularly Vieira's set pieces. I know he doesn't usually take them because he's not playing and he's only just come back, so I'm not going to really say too much about it. But like his delivery was really poor. Anyway, like I think Odegaard's. I think actually a lot of the goals were very, very similar. Get to the byline, get really, really close, cut it back, and those cutbacks are working a treat. I don't know whether or not it was something we wanted to exploit and we knew about, but Martinelli in particular, before getting taken off, and we'll talk a little bit about him later on. Was really at it, was really driven, was really wanting to hit that line, get it as close to the byline as possible for those cutbacks. He was really in and about the box, and I do think that although his goal was a good goal, and there was one where he did this, like, I think Saka's off the bar in like the first minute, and then it came firing back out to Martinelli, who like did this like weird ninja kick that was basically straight at the goalkeeper or defender, whoever cleared it off the line. But I think he was fantastic tonight, and I thought his goal was good as well. And just like we're just getting the argument. We had an argument like 3 months ago. We couldn't buy a goal. We were going into games where we just couldn't score for love nor money. And there was a debate whether or not we lacked a striker. And a lot of the pundits, journalists, social media, YouTubers were all What do we need? We're going to go and get Tony. Is it Osimhen? Is it somebody else? Vlahovic? Whatever it's going to be. And then there's other parties, and I think Le Grove on Arsenal Opinion would say the underlying stats are all there, and everything's pointing in the direction that it's just bad luck, and that we're just on the cusp of scoring. It's just not going our way right this instant. And if you look now, that's probably the way. Like, we are still probably doing the same things we were doing, the same build-up play. We were taking our shots. We just weren't being clinical. You've mentioned clinical a few times. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it's just everything's coming up Millhouse for us right now. And maybe that luck and tide could turn. Or maybe we're just fucking brilliant. I don't know.
I think it's a bit of a mixture of both. I think that, and there's sometimes mental block that needed to be removed. And I think that maybe we removed that. I maybe think something in Dubai. Look, I mean, these guys like Dubai, we've got that gap between what is it, Brentford and then Porto, and then we don't play.
There's an international break in there, but there's probably like a 5-day gap or something like that.
Oh, is there? International break.
Get on the phone, Emirates. Yo, can you set up the jet again? Little trip.
Look, Bukayo would like an orange Fanta and a nice little sunbed. Yeah. Just send him off there. Hi, Gareth. Yeah, he's not coming to England. Why? Because he hates you. We hate you.
Because we want to win the league and the Champions League.
We want to win the league. Yeah. Sorry, you can see my my love here for international football is very low.
Yeah. There's one player that we've not mentioned maybe briefly in that, and I wanted to just call it out here. Havertz again just dropping another total football performance. And you mentioned there a second ago, like about confident play. You know what I mean? Or having the shackles taken off. Like, he is a player that we'd always said is a confident player or a confidence player. He needs it to play the way that he plays.
But he's been formed consistently now. It's like his was a mental block. So something's happened. It's not like he's in a run of form and he's had a bad patch and he was in a run of form, he's had a bad patch, he's found some more form. He unlocked something. A block went, and then that was it. He's been amazing. And Chelsea, like, I'm in the moment, it's such a contrast from where we were, right? Like, you questioning the money. I remember the apology letter, and then now we're just like, gee, like the amount of assists and goals he's getting for us. Looks like a great buy. It looks like, I can't recall too much of Havertz when he was in the Bundesliga to really say 100% was he exactly the same player. Obviously, there's been a lot of people who've said, I think it was Frank from Brentford, Thomas Frank. It said basically this guy's a world-class player. Like, did you see him in the Bundesliga? Like, he'll be absolutely fine. And he's just so good. He has an amazing ability to win the ball back. He seems to own that left side of the pitch, even though he's in the middle. He comes out, he wins the ball, he passes it back, he gets back in the box. He has a lot of physical strength, even though he doesn't look like he has a lot of physical strength when it comes to one-on-ones with defenders. And soon as he finds where the goal is, he remembers where the goal is. Because he took that shot with confidence tonight, and I love that. He's done a few of those kind of finishes now, and I love it. It's great to see someone that's able to really strike a ball in the way he's been doing it. So, yeah, it's different to Xhaka in that role when he cuts back in the left, and obviously he is the best of both worlds, right? Because you've got Declan. It can play there. You've got Trossard. It can play in that kind of left 8. You can then have it up front, or you can have him either way. He's just performing, and that's all we need, right? I think there's something about putting him up front that has genuinely taken us to another level. I do think that there's something to do with that that's taken us to another level, and I think that you're going to see a very frustrated Gabby Jesus by the end of the season.
When he came on, he did look like he was desperate to get on the score sheet. As you can imagine, as a striker coming onto a game where you're winning 5-6-0, you're going to want to get on that score sheet. I agree with you. There's something that's clicked in Havertz right now that is, transforming the way that we play. And I think I talked last time about the potential that this unlocks in other players, whether it's allowing Declan Rice to be more progressive in going forward. But it's kind of like, credit has to go. And I we've given enough flowers to Mikel Arteta over our time on this pod, but massive, massive credit to what he's been able to achieve, because he took what was effectively a lump of clay and has molded it into something completely different. Like you mentioned Granit Xhaka a second ago, and there was a lot of disappointment in the Arsenal ranks about losing Granit Xhaka after the season that he had. He was one of, if not the best 8 in the world at that, maybe second or third behind maybe Rodri and maybe somebody, Thomas Partey had a pretty incredible season as well. But like, we've just got something different. Like, we all thought we needed like an upgrade on Granit Xhaka, and then along come Havertz, and you're kind of like, what is this? It's this gangly giraffe-style lackadaisical player that's got no strength and can't score. And we're all kind of going, what is Arteta thinking? And now we're kind of like, sorry, mate, he's incredible. And he is transforming the way we play. And you're talking about who was one of our best players last season in Gabi Jesus not coming into the team because of it, which is mental.
Yeah, he's incredible. Hats off to Granit Xhaka as well, right? 10 points clear in the Bundesliga. Leverkusen.
And they're going to stop Harry Kane from still winning a trophy, which is bonkers.
Oh, you love it. You love it, right?
Yeah, I do. So we had a goal. We did mention it pretty briefly, but I just want to touch on, because it was a man of the match performance by Martin Odegaard. I do want to just, maybe wax lyrical about the game that he's had here, because we have maybe this is, I don't want to be a pessimist, but we have seen on occasions that Martin Odegaard can turn it on in games like this, where the opposition isn't as good. They don't play the same way that we play. They don't play a deep block, none of that kind of stuff. The Martin Odegaard, he had basically free reign of the pitch to pull any strings that he wanted in this game. Do you think there's something to be said about that, or do you feel that now he's kind of hitting his stride just in the chance that we need it for these next few games that are coming up?
I find it really hard to answer that question, to be honest with you, based on the quality of the opposition. I think he's just about hitting his stride. He's been pretty consistent throughout all of the games recently. So you got to hope that that's just hitting his stride. But it's really hard to factor in when you play an opposition, especially that first half when they were as poor as they were. And it wasn't once like we're making them look poor because we're playing so well. I mean, they genuinely weren't a bad side. Sheffield United fans, I don't think are going to be disrespecting them. I think they're going to be accepting what they see or saw. But as I said, there's already so many superlatives I could describe for Martin. But I think nothing needs to be said. Let's give him the plaudits. He deserves applause for tonight's man of the match performance, but that's kind of saved them for a bigger game when he performs, because he's going to have much harder games the rest of the season. I want to see a performance at home against Porto, right, in the Champions League, turn around the 1-0 deficit. Then my hat will be tipped towards him.
Yeah, I mean, I would. Do you maybe a question like top to bottom? He played such an incredible game. He has been seemingly dropping a bit deeper, and I'm not too sure why that is. Whether or not it's something tactically that we've been asked of him to do. But the guy has such an engine, absolutely incredible engine. Yes. I can't understand how he gets about the pitch as much as he does, and how he still seems to do it in like the 85th, 90th minute. He's pressing every single ball, and he's able to do it in such a way that does bring the team with him. We've seen lots of teams in the past do it in isolation, where the players do it willy-nilly and not necessarily targeted and not doing it as a group. Very commanding in that role, and I got to give him a bit of a round of applause for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think that's just a real strength of his. If I also think about Erling Haaland's like sprint pace when he sprints, like the way he sprints. I think there's generally something about players from Scandinavia, especially the more northern of the Scandinavian countries. I know you've got like Denmark and Sweden. Well, it's, they do a lot of skiing. There's a lot of alpine skiing, and it's not just skiing like down a mountain. It's like long treks across mountains on skis kind of thing. And there's that endurance and that ability. I don't know if he does that. I'm making some big assumptions because he's Norwegian, and occasionally I get to go work in Norway. and understand a little bit about what they like to do for activities and in their holidays and at the weekends. And if he was brought up in that way, I wouldn't be surprised to see him have that kind of engine, just that endurance, the ability to keep going and going and going and going. I definitely see that with him on the pitch. So I'm not surprised. I think Erling Haaland has something similar as well. So it's impressive. See how long he can go before he needs a break, I guess. As really, you don't want him. You don't want Fabio Vieira having to play in that position again, right? So,
well, we're going to get into the subs for sure. But for anybody that's viewing, you've obviously joined for the Arsenal and staying for the Scandinavian analysis from Jay. So I'm here for it. We did talk about this player briefly, and I just want to bring up the guy who hates football, because my man of the match was probably torn between Havertz and Odegaard, but your man of the match is the shit house, the man who hates football, Benjamin White, with an absolute rocket. But what else do you want to talk about? Like, is there something in this performance that stood out for you over those other two that you want to talk about?
Yeah, a couple of things. Inverting when needed. I saw him coming in and collecting the ball in the midfield, and I think again we've talked about that kind of ability, especially in the absence of Tomiyasu, the absence of Timber, the ability and the absence of Zinchenko to come in and fill in that role. And okay, it was an easy game to have to do it because you had a lot of time on the ball, maybe more than you usually would, but he did that well. The link play with Saka in the first half was just perfect. And he was overlapping lots. I mean, again, Trusty, a former Arsenal player, was struggling with both of those on the left-hand side in the first half. In fact, so much, I think they made a sub within like 20 minutes or something, didn't they? And put 5 at the back.
Switched to 5. Yeah, they switched to 5.
Yeah, because they were being torn to shreds down that side. The link play between Saka, White, and Odegaard is really coming on that kind of triangle. It's really working well. So I just thought it was a really strong performance for him, and he capped it off with a lovely goal. And it's not often you get a chance to give someone like Ben the man of the match. So that for me was my choice today.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the back, and you kind of we always want to give our flowers to Saliba, to Gabriel. Recently, even Kiwior. I think you talked about Kiwior on a previous pod. I don't think he was that great today. And there's quite a few loose passes and stuff. But I think he can, if you're doing that in this game versus not doing it versus Liverpool or someone else, then I'm completely with you. So, like I said, Ben White getting some plaudits in this game, deserved, and it's also coming at a good time where I think he needs a rest as well. I do think that he's played a lot of football and it's been pretty much having a starting berth of pretty much every game. We've got players coming back, not for Cedric, but obviously, sometimes I just magically forget that he still plays for us. And it's so funny that it shows the confidence level that Mikel Arteta has in his players. It's like, right, lads, it's 6-0. Cedric, yes, you can get on the pitch. I will allow you because there's enough cushion there that you can't fuck it up that bad.
Go put yourself in the shop window.
Yeah, well, yeah, back. I mean, exactly. And we can pay someone else to take him. I really don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad when Cedric's coming on for the opposition.
Is that the litmus test, is it?
I mean, no disrespect to Cedric. I just there's a few things that annoy me about him. His ability to cross the ball into no one when we never had a tall player.
Those balls would come in handy now, to be honest.
Yeah, they would now, but back in the day when he was actually playing games for us, he used to just keep crossing and crossing and crossing. It's like, Olivier Giroud don't play for us, right? It was really annoying. And obviously he killed Hector Bellerin and I love Hector. So I will never forgive well, I guess it's not his fault, but yeah, I just, not for me, thank you, out of all of the right backs that we've had recently. And yeah, I think he wouldn't ever be in the position really, personally, to replace Ben White permanently in any form of running. So we are almost at the point where our defenders are going to be back very soon, if not by the weekend, by the next round of league games after the break. So hopefully Ben can ride out this kind of one more game. And then we'll have a Tomiyasu and a Timber back, and we'll have a full choice of defenders to end of the season for the run-in. So
Time to be
fingers
alive.
crossed. Yeah, I know everyone's coming back.
Well, let's talk about that, because
I
we're
was
going
about
to
to
talk about
say,
subs, because there is players coming back. I'm gonna go for Jesus, because I talked about him a little bit, and I'm going to give you the glory. For me, because Jesus came on, and I thought he was really hungry. He was certainly about it. One of the things that we talked about previous pods before is being offside, and again, it reared its head here, and it was really annoying me. Like, maybe it's just because he's just not fully fit, or he's just not game ready, and that's fine. I can forgive some of those parts, but when you're a striker, you've really got to be on that line. That's the one thing, if you're not scoring goals, that you need to make sure that you're doing, so that it can give yourself the opportunities to score goals. And I do feel that he just, one of the commentators said it like months back before his injury, that he always plays on the line. And I was always of the opinion that he doesn't really play on the shoulder of the defender. He's actually quite a, like, well, I've seen it more and more, and maybe my read of the game is just not as good as either it should be or is or was. But he's just not getting that bit right, and I feel it's a bit lazy. You know, strikers who are offside as often as he is, that for me is just quite a basic fundamental of playing as an out-and-out 9. But he does look hungry to score. I mean, he would be in this type of game, but still.
Yeah. We talked about him earlier on in the first half of the season. There was a game where he kept getting caught up offside. And we talked about it on one of the pods. It might have been Man United at home. I can't remember which game it was. But there was a game at the beginning of the season. We talked about it a lot. He kept getting called offside. And it was frustrating, especially because that was the time when we weren't scoring. He does play there. It's part of his game. Not the best part of his game, if I'm honest, from just analysis. I mean, you know, he was, you know, any of those substitutes tonight were going to be hungry to get on and get involved in the goal fest, right? You always are in the game like that. You're coming on and you're just thinking, oh, can I get a goal? And obviously, it would have done him the world of good to get a goal, considering he's not getting much game time because of Havertz at the moment. The thing for me, if I'm honest, was he had a chance and he decided to cut back. Be greedy. I know Mikel is teaching Arsenal to cut back, and if you're Bukayo Saka or Martinelli or Ben White or even Martin Odegaard in that position, yeah, fine, cut it back. But you're Gabriel Jesus and you're in front of goal 1-on-1 with keeper.
You're taught to put your legs into it, right? Surely.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I mean, you've watched me play football enough on a Monday night. There's no way I'm passing that.
Yeah, but you've also got to be hitting the target, Jakes. So, you know,
bottom right hand corner every time, mate. Never fails.
Get those
angles, yeah. But no, genuinely, he needs to think about what he needs to deliver in this team. And if he's already had that private conversation with Mikel, where goals is not how Mikel is measuring him, and he's going to be used as a winger because we're bringing in another striker. We know we're going to bring in an Ivan Toney next year, and Jesus is going to have to supplement Saka or Martinelli on the wing. And I think he came on initially for Martinelli on the left, didn't he? If that's the role that's been agreed and the pressure is off of him for scoring goals, fine. I'll take back everything I've just said. Because I don't know the conversations that the players have.
Still be scoring goals off the wing, though, Jace. You look at our wingers and the goals that they're scoring. He's still going to be scoring goals from that position.
But he's not. This is the thing, right? I mean, I don't really know. I've not watched him enough as a winger at City when he played on the wing. I mean, we saw him play on the wing against City because we had no Saka, if I remember right, against City at home. I wasn't amazed by that performance, but if he can do a job there, he can do a job there. But like, it's not like you're a Liverpool where you've got unlimited. Like, you can put a lot of players in different positions in Liverpool's lineup, and you've got people that you would see are natural wingers, and then they can play down the middle. Jesus is more of a natural striker and can play on the wing, and I just don't think it's as effective. If you get what I mean, like, I'd rather have Rafinha from Barcelona or Ferran Torres or, you know, like a Doku, and, you know, just I like the way that we play. I think we need one more winger, and we need Ivan Toney And I don't know if Jesus fits that caliber to go out on the wing, if I'm honest. So
he's got a long time left on his deal as well, though, so I can't see a shifting.
Well,
we'll see.
We would have,
there was,
yeah.
I said about Jesus. I know there's a player that you want to talk about because we were all very excited. I tweeted before kickoff, Thomas Partey looks like he's going to be back in the squad. He was on the bench. A lot of excitement because of what he can do. But what did you see during that? I'm assuming you didn't see a lot in his cameo here that really filled you with much hope.
It's first game back in a long, long time. I'm not going to judge, but I mean,
Here
it was
I am
sloppy.
judging.
Well, no, I mean, it was just sloppy. Like, he gave 2 passes away. In fact, his first touch was just the worst pass I've ever seen. It was just like no effort. And it was like, wake up, mate. You're in a football match. You're playing football. Do you know what that is? Do you remember that? We never thought we were going to see him in an Arsenal shirt again before Christmas, right? We thought that was it. We thought he was done. So, look, we've learned to live life without him. He's depth in numbers if he can come on and do a job for us to the end of the season when he needs to. But if he's going to do that, he needs to bring his level up quickly to the right to the standard that we're now at. Now, we know from his previous performances he can get to that standard, but he's got to get there quickly. And he can't make mistakes. He can't make those sloppy passes like he made tonight. In bigger games, he'll get punished. And at the moment, Jorginho is playing great. We don't even need to play Jorginho, right? We'll play Rice in the single pivot with Odegaard and Havertz, and if we need to as well. So what that's doing is adding depth to our options. But, if he really wants to push back in and you want to have Rice and Partey and Havertz all in the same squad with Odegaard as well, then, to get back to that quite tasty lineup, then Thomas Partey's got to raise his game. And, tonight was just a run out. It was just minutes in my legs, really, more than anything. And I wouldn't say I'm like, oh, I'm so glad to see him back, because I don't know what kind of player we have, and until he gets to that, let's assume that he's going in the window anyway. I'm assuming he's going to stay past the summer. We're trying to extend Jorginho anyway. So I would assume that he's going and that maybe someone's coming in. After we've done the big deal, I'm thinking that we'll get. I feel like we'll get a striker and a midfielder more than anything in the summer. So, yeah.
I wonder, before he got injured, a lot of what we
happens.
saw. We will. But one of the things we don't really know, when at the start of the season he was playing right back, and there was obviously some sort of plan or something that Arteta had for Partey.
That was explained. That was explained.
To what level?
So Arsenal had an offer from a Saudi Arabian club for Gabriel, and we rejected it, but it was massive money. And so during that period, till the transfer window finished, we decided not to play Gabriel, which is why we had
mentally so much.
Yeah, which is why you had Saliba and White in the middle and Thomas Partey at right back. That's why.
It's just incredible to think what could have been, what might have been, depending on how the chips might have laid. But
Mikel was asked about it.
Okay,
and that's why. Sorry, Paul.
Right. No, I was just curious because obviously, and like you say, I think it is a speed and pace of the game issue. Like he's obviously just come back from a long-term injury. We've got a lot of that at the moment, and I think quite fortunately, these are the type of games that you can roll these players into where we're comfortably winning, where they can make those kind of mistakes. I would say that you want to get them out of your system pretty quickly. We saw Kiwior do a relatively loose pass. We saw Vieira not necessarily up to the pace of the game. I think we saw Partey very similar, not up to his usual antics or tricks. And this is the type of game where I can forgive them because it's kind of okay to do it here and not have it in Man City away, in Spurs away, in Man United away. Even we've got Wolves and Brighton away coming up. Those are the type of games that you don't want that to kind of happen in. And we're kind of fortunate that most of our players, there's not anybody in that starting 11 today. No one put a foot wrong. No one put a foot wrong in the actual starting 11. until those kind of subs came in. I don't think there's anybody in that starting 11 that necessarily was not where we needed him to be. But I'm just like, I think you mentioned it to me, maybe off air. Are you concerned on the depth still with those players coming back?
I'm not concerned about. There are certain players I want coming on from the bench than others in these situations. It's interesting because in a world where you only used to have 3 subs and 3 subs only, it doesn't, like, you've got your starting lineup, and then you'll have Timber, you'll have either a Jesus for a Havertz, for example, you'll have a Jorginho maybe coming on, Tomiyasu. And you look at that and you go, okay, the main thing we're missing from all of those is a winger, pretty much. But there's kind of decent depth there with kind of first team players, like starters, if you need them with the depth. Where I look at our depth and question is, if Odegaard gets injured, that's a worry, because you're then relying on Emil, or you're relying on Vieira, or you're relying on bringing Havertz back into that side on the 8 on that side and having to build those connections with Ben White and Saka. So that's a worry in regards to the depth in our midfield coming on. Again, I don't know. At the moment, Eddie's not getting any game time, so let's assume he's on the way out. And we're going to have Havertz up front with Jesus coming on for the rest of the season, the majority of the time. So that's okay for now. It'll do for the rest of the season based on what we've got. It's mainly that attacking midfield and winger on the right hand side coming on when Saka's tired and we want to take him off. I don't have any worries on the left. Trossard's coming on.
Well, even like we had Saka get taken off at half time. Martinelli came off with, looked like, I'm not too sure.
That was a worry, actually. That was a worry.
Well, you got, like you said, you got Trossard, but I couldn't tell if it was impact, if it was muscular. It looked like his foot, so maybe it is. That's got to be quite a sore one if it's on the top of his like foot, like metatarsal kind of area.
They sat him down on a step and they still had the camera on him after. And then you saw him get up and walk or hop down the step or kind of put weight on his foot once they got him off the pitch. But we won't know more about that until after the game, into the week, and until Arteta talks about kind of the Brentford team news. So hope and pray really with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's an area that we do have options in there, like say Trossard for Saka. And this is where it was interesting. Usually when someone gets taken off at half time, the commentary, the box gets some kind of information from the bench to tell them what has happened. And I don't think they did. I do think Arteta is quite cagey, particularly when it comes to Saka, about sharing information about him, because he's such an integral part to how we play football that he's probably protecting if it is bad or is good. He's usually quite, shrouded in mystery when it comes to Saka in terms of if he can play or not.
I would say in these last 4 big games where we've been winning easily, comfortably, Arteta has taken Saka off pretty much every game, whereas he never used to, because we were trying to get to the end, and he's a game changer, and we needed the goals. But when we don't need the goals, he's resting him, which is great to see. And if that's how we have to get through to the end of the season, then so be it. I'd rather that than run the kid into the ground, because we don't have a replacement on that side. Reece, sorry, you're not at the level. You can sometimes hit the ball from the outside of the box and score a worldie, and he doesn't do bad on the left. Actually, I prefer Reece on the left than I prefer him on the right. I just don't feel like we have a player on the right, and we need to buy someone there, whether it be a player from Leverkusen or one of the guys in Barcelona. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, the main thing, we've got to focus on getting a striker, and then we'll see what we do in the window. But yeah, in short, to depth, how do I feel about it? Most of it I'm comfortable with. There are a few gaps, and we just have to persevere and hope that we don't really need those gaps.
Yeah, Saka's the one for sure. Right, so that's enough about what more can be said about a 6-0 victory. We absolutely tanked the Sheffield United team that were not at the races at all. Let's talk at the parking lot. We've got a game coming up on Saturday afternoon, whereby we can go top of the league at home to Brentford.
Yeah.
What do you think about that game, Jace? Do you think it's a comfortable victory for us?
I think it's going to be similar to a Newcastle game if we come out and play in the same way. You have to assume we've been pretty consistent for 5 games on the trot. So if I look at what we were doing last season, but at the beginning, like we had 10 games on the trot where we came out with that intensity. I think we got 1 draw and the rest were wins. So assume we come out like that. Assume we take it to Brentford in the same way that we've been doing. I think I don't know why. I don't think Brentford they're not the Brentford of previous years. Let's be clear. Where are the worries? Ivan Toney is a worry against Saliba because we know that's a matchup that can be a problem.
Yeah.
That can be a problem. Though I think Gabriel might deal with him this time. If I'm honest, I think they might switch that out. Apart from that, there's just you got to go 3-1, 4-1. I don't think you're going to be getting a 5 or 6-0 at home to Brentford, if I'm honest. But I think a 3-1, 4-1 would be my optimum kind of score. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm expecting. How about you? Are you expecting the same kind of performance, Newcastle-like performance at home? Are you worried about Brentford?
I'm not worried about Brentford. Tony hasn't been at it since coming back from his ban. I don't think he's not been. It's interesting because I don't think he's done enough to put himself in the shop window where Arsenal fans and Mikel Arteta will be like, he's our guy. He's the one we're going to have to get. So there's certainly probably going to be a bit of a chip on his shoulder coming into this game as an opportunity for him to put himself in that shop window and kind of showcase to Mick that he is the guy. That's the only part that slightly concerns me here that he could be. But other than that, I mean, so Ramsdale's going to have to play as well, which obviously Raya can't. So that's going to be maybe a Ramsdale farewell tour at home. Did you forget? You forgot, didn't you?
I forgot about that.
So you never know. That could play a part as well. And there was even the commentators made a point of it during this game. That debate has gone blissfully quiet. There's nobody talking about it anymore. That Raya, we can all talk about the way that Mikel Arteta dealt with the situation. What you can't deny is the upgrade. I think
clean sheet wise,
much of a debate to be had. Yeah, I mean, he's going to get the Golden Glove more than likely. I think the only thing that people might call back to is the saves he didn't make against Porto. I would say it was a worldie of a goal. I don't think any keeper's stopping it, in my opinion.
I don't think so. I unfortunately blame Gabriel Martinelli a little bit for giving the ball away in the first place.
I do as well, but then it's the same with a bloody Liverpool game from the weekend. I'm like screaming at the TV. Like I was streaming the game. I was like, Nottingham Forest, just boot the ball away. What are you doing? 98th minute on the edge of your box. Clear your lines. It's schoolboy stuff. Anyway, I don't want to get into it because it frustrates me. Liverpool versus Man City on Sunday. I'm assuming all Arsenal fans are begging for a draw.
Yeah, I guess so. That's the way the points have got to work out, right? Like, if you don't really want, you don't want City to win because they beat United. They got Arsenal to come. They're on a charge. They're doing their thing. So you want City to be defeated, ideally, but because it's Liverpool, you don't want to keep this craziness ongoing, which is them scraping wins from nowhere. So yeah, I mean, there's no option but a draw. Plus, it doesn't really help us either for either one of them to win, like points wise. So yeah, a draw, I guess, and then we have to win our games. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I think a draw. If it's a draw and we win, that puts us top by goal difference, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
And then it's kind of in our hands a little bit more. And we've had that phrase before, and it really didn't bode well last season. I would say out of the two of them, I'd actually prefer City to win.
Oh,
Only because I think, I kind of this. Liverpool are outperforming all the metrics for themselves right now. There was a graph that came up and kind of showed you where their points tally would be, and I just kind of get this sense that they've just got wind in their sails and everything is going their way, and nothing other than Man City demolishing them will maybe take them off their perch. Although this is the thing with City. City went through, like us, a little patch where they were missing Haaland and missing Rodri, and they'd lost some games, so they dropped some points. They haven't dropped any points since then. And this is the thing in this title race at the moment, that no one is dropping points. And so this is where I'd like, if City do win, then it puts us in a position where we have to beat them at the Etihad. We kind of do have to beat them anyway, or we're kind of in this position where we don't get beat by them at the Etihad. If City beat Liverpool, we have to go to the Etihad and beat them. And I feel that changes our mentality a little bit, because we have seen our approach to games where we don't necessarily need to lose being like, that's how we approach Porto, in my opinion. We went there not wanting to lose. And we approached that game incorrectly, in my opinion. We should have gone there to ruin them. They play open football. We've seen it in Champions League nights that we can do and dismantle teams in that way if we play our game. And we didn't. I don't think we played that way against Porto. We kind of expected them to match us, and we thought we'd just get a draw and take it back to the Emirates. And now we could pay the price for it. So I'm kind of the opinion that I prefer a City. I'd like a draw, but if I have to take the lesser of the two evils, it's the City win with that mentality switch for us, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm the opposite to you. I'm a draw, but if someone's got to win, it's Liverpool, because, as you say, they're.
You feel they're going to fall off, I guess.
Yeah, their bubble's got to burst at some point. They can't prolong that. We couldn't prolong it last year. Our bubble burst. Nor can they.
There's still a lot of games to go, right? As well.
Yeah, there is.
All right. Well, it's late on a Monday night. We both got work tomorrow. So I want to thank everybody that did tune in to watch us, whether you're on X, whether you're on YouTube, wherever you were listening. Can't thank you enough for taking part and being part of our little community. Jace, if we're going to get this up on Spotify tomorrow for the listeners of Spotify, what do we want them to do?
Spotify, give us a little subscribe to your podcast, to the podcast, and whether you do that on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, little 5-star rating. It's always lovely. What about YouTube, Greg? What about YouTube?
Look, I've already said it. I'm going to say it again. The subs and the likes are where our money, none, is going to get made. So please do help it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we just do it for the joy of it and talk about Arsenal and just wanted to grow this audience, talk to like-minded fans. We get to go to games every so often. Love to meet the community and kind of get and grow this audience. So if you can, do give us a subscribe, do give us a like, do add any commentary if you can do. And we will be back. Are you going away anywhere, Jason? Can we be back on Saturday evening for a review of this thing?
I think I'm away for work during the international break.
Oh my!
But during the international break, so I'm back. I'm around. I'm around. We can pod on Saturday night.
All right. Yeah. We might be back live again on Saturday if we can muster a collective energy, provided that Arsenal can once again not bore us to sleep by not scoring 10 goals in the second half of a game of football. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure as always, and hopefully you have a great evening.
Cheers, guys.
Come on, you!